Hello, midday Sunday. I'm going to do a little short video here on reviewing. I've been reviewing some articles regarding location of Lyme disease. If any of you out there are familiar with Lyme disease, the basic premise is that it's like a northeast-east issue. That's where the heavy concentrations are, according to the CDC. And as I look through some of these articles, it's becoming pretty apparent that these nonprofits are bringing awareness that it's pretty heavy, that basically the LymeDisease.org maps that they obtain from people who have been diagnosed and people are reporting symptoms, things like that, research that's been done, testing certain tick populations in the South and the West, are finding out that the CDC maps are not correct, that there's far more cases out west and south than is being reported by the CDC. So even here, where I'm at in Idaho, we have a pretty, he's an alternative Lyme specialist. He's got pretty different approaches to treating Lyme disease, but he gets people from all over the world that takes him in. And they're finding that, there's a lot of cases with people that are both people who have moved from the West or moved from East to West, and also people who have always been in the West. And I was reading a study here of, people in, Colorado. There's a place called Biting Back. So basically it's a non-for-profit education program by this family who basically their whole family was being treated for different kind of diseases until they realized that they had Lyme disease. So it was like an 8-year battle, and so they established this program called Biting Back in Colorado after they found out that their family had Lyme disease. And they've always been in Colorado, right? So, this is, you're working on 2003, I think, is when they said they first started having side effects or having issues from Lyme. So, almost 15 years ago now, in Colorado, which, especially back then was like, there's no Lyme disease in Colorado. And this family was born and raised, basically spent their entire life there. So this is just one example. There's another article on here about testing done just outside of Sacramento, wilderness outside of Sacramento. Huge boom in tick population there, as well as Lyme being present in the bacteria that causes Lyme disease, right? I think there's 6 or 7 of them, but those bacteria being present in the ticks outside there of Sacramento. And like I said, the doctor here sees people locally. It's not as bad here. We have such brutal winters. Our tick population is basically low. If we have a really mild winter and a hot summer like we had, I think 2 years ago, we saw a pretty big boom in tick population here. But ticks this year have been really low because we had a brutal winter. And we just kind of have a natural low tick population as it is. So not as much here where I'm at in Idaho, but you're seeing reports of not only wildlife biologists who are doing testing on Lyme, on the ticks for these bacterias, but also cases of people have gone up quite a bit in the western states as well. So, it basically, it goes back to anything. You look at government agency maps and they're, 2 decades behind the kind of current information. And I think that just goes right in line with, the federal agencies, especially the CDC, don't want to make the perception that Lyme disease is as big of an issue as it really is. So kind of, saying, well, you live, out here in the West, we don't really have Lyme disease, and then they get an opportunity to kind of shrug that off, especially, initially for the first few years while they make up things that might be wrong with you. Just kidding. They might not make them up, but they're testing for other things outside of Lyme as being maybe an initial, the initial cause. They're going to go through a route where they're going to run you through the gamut of tests for other things and initially rule that out. So this seems to be the theme here as I read multiple issues. Now the Lyme, if you go to LymeDisease.org, a lot of awesome articles, but to read most of them, you do need to have a membership to read them in their entirety. And I think the cheapest one is like $50 per year, which doesn't come with the video resources. So, you know, it isn't like super cheap. But a lot of people put a lot of time and effort into here, and you get scientific articles, and you know, you get the biologists, and you get articles written by physicians, you know, so there's a lot of really good resources on here. So if it's something you're interested in learning more about, then you know, drop a couple bucks on it. You know, $50 a year is $4 a month, basically $4.25 a month. So, you know, that's pretty reasonable. Now, obviously, if you're somebody who is like a doctor who treats Lyme disease, I mean, their memberships go all the way up to $5,000 a year. So they quite an array of different types of memberships that you can get. So, but all in all, you know, basically, if you are struggling with Lyme or think you're struggling with Lyme disease and you live in western states, southwest, northwest, regular west, so you know, if you're in through Utah over into Nevada and California, Oregon, I mean, all, you know, all the way up to Washington and all the way down to Southern California, New Mexico, don't write off that you don't have Lyme disease because they say it's like super rare in your area, because I think if any of the research that I've done on my own has pointed out is that it's much more prevalent than anyone would ever even imagine or care to admit, even if they do know, you know, being the medical realm, that is. So, you know, certainly don't write it off because you're looking at case maps and things like that, or having a general practitioner telling you that, you know, well, we don't have that in our area, so let's test for other stuff. Be the ambassador for your own health and be persistent in it. And you definitely want to make sure that, you know, trust yourself. Make sure you're trusting in your own intuition and your own research so that you can, you know, kind of get past some of the hurdles. Now, I'm not saying your side effects or anybody else's side effects or issues that they're having are Lyme disease, right? But do your research on it, because if you can do a process of elimination, you know, you can be your own advocate and steer testing and steer treatment in the direction that you perceive to be most important first, because after all, it's, you know, it's on your dime, right? So, you know, especially dealing with your family or your kids, be persistent, be well-read. If you show up and you've got research and you've got, you know, articles and stuff written by, you know, some of the top physicians and biologists and things like that, and, you know, you show your general practitioner, general family doctor that that you've done the time, you've done the effort, and you're not just somebody who's, you know, basically muddling through life looking for them to tell me what's wrong. Like, if you show that you have you know, you have that kind of drive to find the answers, they're going to give you a lot more time of day and give you a lot more credibility when you walk in that doctor's office. So that's, you know, that's basically my tip of the day is it doesn't matter where you're living in Canada or the United States. This issue is everywhere, and don't let geography think or point you to the wrong direction. Plus, a lot of people move like crazy, right? So if this can be transmitted sexually, or if you spent your childhood or teenage years in a state like Iowa or Michigan or Virginia or something like that, and you've moved west, well, you might be putting up with this. You might have had it for 7 or 10 years, and now you're just really starting to see the buildup effects. So it could have come from over there originally. Now you're over here, and you could have passed that to your child in utero. So, you know, this isn't the 1700s where everyone's pretty localized, right? We move around quite a bit. I've been all over the country, from Indiana to Florida to West Washington, and now over in Idaho. So I've been everywhere. You know, I've spent time in basically the Southwest is the only area I haven't spent any substantial time in my life. So, you know, I could have gotten Lyme from Florida, certainly. Could have gotten Lyme certainly from the Midwest. I was outside in the woods all the time, and nobody talked about it back when I was a kid, right? Or I could have got it out here at some point. I'm pretty sure, based upon my symptoms, that I probably had it I probably got it in Florida or somewhere in the Midwest. But in any case, be your own advocate, stand up for yourself, do your research, show the doctors and specialists that you talk to that you're pretty well read in it, even though you don't have an MD, right? You're well read in the situation. They're gonna spend a lot more time explaining things to you. They're gonna understand that you have an appreciation for your health and getting better, and it's just gonna be a much less painful process going forward if you treat it that way with the preparation on the front end. So we're gonna do another video today because I've been slacking terribly. Just feeling really bad the last 48 hours or so, so I've just been like kind of blah, but I'm feeling better today. Got some good sleep last night, got back on taking my supplements and that kind of stuff. So I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.